know when Jesus said that to the woman in John 4 at the well, that the salvation is of the Jews. Do you think that that was only for that time, and then after that, once the Jews are destroyed out of Jerusalem, and now salvation is of the Gentiles?
Here's how it is. Salvation was of the Jews.
Yeah.
On Pentecost Sunday, 2,000 years ago nearly, the church came into existence fully. They were all Jews. Salvation from then on was of them and all those who joined them. That was called the Catholic Church. Salvation is of the...
But you've been like the Muslims now, because you know how they say Abraham's a Muslim. Because the term Catholic wouldn't have come around then.
The term Catholic was current and well known in the time of, in about AD 107, when Ignatius of Antioch spoke of the Catholic Church.
Right.
That, because it was current in 107 AD, must have been known, must have been in operation and use during the lifetime of some of the apostles.
You said 107?
107, St. John dies in 100 AD approximately.
Right.
St. Ignatius of Antioch was a pupil of St. John the Apostle. You go, if you're in the lifetime of the apostles, if you're using that term in just after John's died, and you're sending it to Antioch, at some distance from Israel, that means people are familiar with this term in different parts of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Therefore, they've become familiar with it after it's been in use for some time. From Israel. It must have spread from Israel to somewhere else. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been used as a term. It's only if the local Jewish church is really using it that it would have credibility in Antioch in 107 AD. Because at this point, this early stage, you really only get credibility if the Hebrews are using a term. If they weren't using the Catholic Church term, it just was brought into existence by Gentiles. Yes, fundamentally, but there's a Hebrew equivalent, of course, there must be. Universal.
But usually with names...
It's a Greek word, But the very concept behind it will be Hebrew. And that's what will have got currency. So anyway, its currency will be commencing in the time of the apostles, because it was familiar to the people of Antioch. It was familiar to Ignatius of Antioch, and those to whom he was writing. So in Antioch itself, and I can't remember the Smyrnaeans or whoever it was written to, the term was familiar in two regions of the Roman Empire, and therefore it must have come out of the lifetime of the apostles, and so we can say that term is right there. And anyway, we don't have to use the name. The church which is established at Pentecost is the New Israel. Whatever name you give it, it is the thing which is the source of salvation. Nothing else. Old Israel is finished with, except until the end, because St. Paul says a remnant of Israel will come back.
Right, but there's...
And Zechariah said.
Okay, but so you're saying that even though it was all Jews there at Pentecost, that at some point it'll switch from them being alike to the Gentiles to the Gentiles being alike to themselves.
Well, it's not an ethnic issue. The entire gospel was in the possession of the believers at Pentecost with the Blessed Mother, all of them. Right? That's it there. There was nothing extra they needed. They didn't know to go scurrying off to the Sanhedrin and say, oh, by the way, I've got a question. The Sanhedrin were irrelevant from that point on, right?
Yeah.
So, forget old Israel as a teaching body, it's irrelevant. So what is the use of the Jews at that point? To the Gentiles? They have nothing to say to the Gentiles, except to confuse them. So that group, anybody they teach as leaders, are going to be the light to the Gentiles, down the generations. And this is Israel, New Israel. And this is the Catholic Church.
Right, so once the leadership switched to Rome, so now then Rome became the Gentiles.
Okay, now here what we have is a purely geographical shift.
Yeah.
Jerusalem was marked for destruction. Jesus said, totally right and proper, God the Father destroyed it. So it isn't, we're not going to have a Jerusalem church. Forget about it, it's temporary. Jesus effectively said that. So it has to go somewhere.
Right.
Rome is the most sensible place. In fact, these Italians that were all over Israel during Jesus' ministry will be taking the message of the gospel back to Rome. And remember what Paul says in Romans about those in the imperial household who are believers. It's no accident. The soldiers, Pilate's wife, other holy women who would have been in the circle of Pilate's wife, the Roman nobility, they would have been converting in significant numbers. So Italy and Rome were the most sensible place for the church to become headquartered.
Right.
But it need not have been. Could have been in middle Zimbabwe, could have been in Manchester, could have been in Scandinavia, could have been anywhere. But God, the Holy Spirit, is the wisest of gods. And putting it, I defy anybody to think of a better place than Rome.